Hi, everybody. Good morning. Sundom Oki here, and we are jumping back into Luke today. Um, I had it marked. We are in chapters 13, I believe. So, anyways, I am. I really wanted to do this live, but I haven't been. I've been up most of the night, to be honest with you, and I'm. I'm just not feeling all that great today. So we are actually in chapter 14, and just I apologize ahead of time. Bear with me. Um, like I said, I just haven't quite been feeling the greatest, but I still wanted to do this. It's Wednesday, and yeah, so please leave a like or a comment. Let me know where everybody is from. I'm very interested to find out. But we will go ahead and start. So let me put this down a little bit here. There we go. So Luke chapter 14. And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath day, that they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy. And Jesus answering spoke unto the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? So they're all standing around, and they see him, and they're watching, and they want to see what he's going to do, because if you followed along in our previous lives, you'll know that they try to catch him up on the Levitical laws that they're following. And the Sabbath day is a big one. You're not supposed to do anything at all. And so he asked them, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? And they held their peace, which means they didn't say anything. And he took him and healed him and let him go. So Jesus grabs this man and he heals him and he lets him go. And he answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ass or an ox fall into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? So, given the times and everything and what was happening then, so if these people were farmers or anything like that, and they're like, so you're telling me that if it was even the Sabbath day and you saw that one of your animals that you need, that you use, had fallen into a pit, are you just going to leave it out there until tomorrow and hope for the best, or are you going to go save it? And they could not answer him again to these things. And and they held their peace, and he took him and healed them and let them go. And he answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ass or an ox fall into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him again of these things. And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out the chief rooms, saying unto them, When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee, and him come and say to thee, Give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when you are bidden to go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he sat bade thee come in, he may say unto thee, Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them, and sit at meat with thee. So he's saying, whenever you go into an important meeting or a gathering, or like it says in here, a wedding, you don't go sit right at the top. It's not your wedding. You don't know who's coming and if there's someone there that's supposed to be in that spot and not you. And so keep yourself humble and don't put yourself above other people. Let them come bring you up. For whosoever exalts himself shall be abased, and he that humbles himself shall be exalted. Then said he also to him that bade him, when thou makes a dinner or a supper call, do they not call your friends nor your brethren, neither thy kinsmen nor thy rich neighbors? Lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee. So whenever you make these dinners and these big gatherings, don't just, only invite your friends or your neighbors or the people who, or your family, the people you know who are going to recompense you, that are going to like pay you back in a sense. But when thou make a feast, call the poor and the maimed and the lame and the blind. And thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. So whenever you do things, do them for people who can't necessarily pay you back. Help people who need help. Like it says in here, the blind, the lame. And when one of them that sat at meat with him heard these things, he said unto him, Blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. And then Jesus said unto him, A certain man made a great supper and bade many. He invited many. Big supper has a big invite list. And sent his servant at supper time to say to them that were bidden, Come, for all things are now ready. I have everything ready, guys. Come on. And they all, with one consent, began to make an excuse. The first said unto him, I have bought a piece of ground, and I have needs to go and see it. I pay thee, have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I go to prove them. I pay thee, have me excused. And another said, I have married a wife, and therefore I can't come. I just got married myself. I can't. I'm busy at the moment. So that servant came and showed his Lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor and the maimed and the halt and the blind. So the host of the party is so upset, and the people that they've invited have every excuse not to come. They just can't. And they're like, okay, fine. They tell their servant, go out everywhere, up and down the streets, over to different areas, go out as far as you can and just invite people. We need to have people here. Doesn't matter if they're poor or they're blind or whatever, everyone needs to come. And the servant said, Lord, it is done, and thou as thou hast commanded, and yet there is still room. And the Lord said unto the servant, Go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. So he says, go out even further. I want you to travel the highways and go to different cities and far out places that you haven't been before. And I want you to invite people to come in. There is still so much room. For I say unto you that none of these men which were bidden shall taste of my supper. These people that I invited, that they've given me every excuse for, they can't come now, so they're not going to eat now. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sits not down first and counts the cost, whether you have sufficient finances or supplies to fulfill it? Lest happily after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him. People are going to laugh at you. You start this project, but you didn't take anything into account, and now you can't finish it. They say, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to make war against another king doesn't sit down first and consulteth whether he be able 10,000 to meet him that come against him, or 20,000? He has to know his enemy, right? How many people are going to come attack us? Do we have the power to defeat that number of people? Do we need help, or do we surrender? Like, you need to know. Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends an embassage and desires conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsakes not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. So, and I'm just going to pause right here for a minute. There's a lot into that. And, where it says, you're supposed to hate this and this. That is a different context. This context can be twisted, is what I'm trying to say. Because if you read it without understanding, it's going to sound really bad in just the verse by itself. Sorry. Whosoever he be of you that forsakes not all he has, he cannot be my disciple. So whenever Jesus was going and he was going out and getting his disciples, he tells them to follow me. And so that means that they stop everything that they're doing. They drop everything, their jobs, their careers, their families, their lives, their everything. And they stop and they follow Jesus. He is now their disciple. They are now his disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherein shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land, nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. So that was the end of chapter 14. Like I said, you'll have to excuse me. I have not been feeling well overnight this morning. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about 14 here. If you have any questions, I'm sure there's quite a few that you could have in chapter 14. The only reason why I'm not going into a lot of depth right now is just because I'm not feeling good. That's the only reason. But please leave your comments and questions, and I will for sure get back to you. Definitely, if you go to my channel, my email is there, and you can always send an email about whatever. So chapter 15. Then drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners for to hear him. So now everybody's coming to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. So he not only is hanging around and being seen with them, but he's also eating with them, which was a big deal at the time. Like, just saying. I mean, if you got invited to like your governor's house for dinner, or even as like a regular occurrence, people are going to know. So they're like, oh, well, he might or she might be someone important, you know what I mean? And so who you sit and eat with was a big deal. And Jesus spoke this parable, saying to them, what man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after that which is lost until you find it? If you have 100 sheep and you lose one of them, are you not going to go find that lost sheep? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders, rejoicing. He carries it over his shoulders. And he's happy he found his lost lamb. Now his 100 is complete. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repents more than over 99 just persons, which need no repentance. Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, doth not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? You lose your money. Let's say you lost a $20, $50, $100 bill. You're gonna search until you find that missing money. Same thing, the lost sheep. And this parable is the same thing about, we'll get to the end of it, but it's the same thing about you and everybody else. If you're not a just and right person, then you're a sinner. I'm a sinner. I'm a good sinner. I used to be a really, really good sinner. But there is rejoice in heaven over those of us who repent, those of us who bring our lives back into the right direction and follow God and follow Jesus. They rejoice over that. It is good. He wants his whole flock. So, and when she has found it, she calls her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. She might have even called them and been like, Hey, did I leave that at your house? Like, I just lost a $100 bill. Have you seen it? Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repents. That's a big deal. Not only that, but that is so cool. That's cool. That's cool to me anyway. And he said, a certain man, Jesus, he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divideth them into his living. Okay. So there's a man, okay, and he has 2 boys. And one of the boys goes to his dad and he's like, hey, so I'm old enough and I know you're going to like divide this up and give this to us or whatever. Can you just go ahead and give me my portion in cash? Like, is that cool? Before, you don't worry about this. Just go ahead and give me my portion. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. So I'm pretty sure he's a young gentleman, I'm going to assume, just because of the actions that follow. But hey, I don't know. I could be wrong. So the son who has asked for his portion of his inheritance runs off. He gathers all of his stuff. He's got his money, packs all of his stuff up, and he's leaving home like right now. And he's having riotous living. So he's partying. He's probably doing a lot of things he shouldn't be doing. He's probably paying for women, lots of hookups, lots of alcohol, who knows what else. But he took all that money and he blew it having a good time. He didn't think about the future. He didn't think about anything, nothing at all. And that's kind of why I say I think he's young. You know what I mean? So anyway, if that kind of explains it a little better and kind of puts it in a better perspective for you to understand. There's people that do that now, Okay. And when he spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to want. So he spent all of his money, and now where he's living, there's a famine, and he has nothing. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. So he found himself someone he could work for, and now his job is feeding swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. So he's out here starving. to the point of wishing that he was eating what the pigs were being fed. That's pretty hungry. And when he came unto himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? So he's sitting and talking and thinking to himself, and he's like, my father has so many servants and none of them are starving at all. In fact, they got enough to eat on and then some. They're not worried about anything. But he's also thinking about home. Another reason why I think he is a young man, a young adult. So he says, I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I am no more worthy to be called son. Make me as one of your hired servants. So he feels so low within himself. He is so embarrassed and so ashamed. In his head, he's like, I'm going to go to my dad and I'm going to tell him I'm sorry. And listen, you don't even have to treat me like your son. You just treat me like a hired servant, and I will work as your servant and I'll be fed. And that's fine with me. I know what I did was wrong. I went and squandered my money, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah. And he arose and he came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. This part is important right here because he left, and what he did makes him not welcome to come back. And so his father had to run out there and meet him first so that he could be welcomed back in. Basically, that's like paraphrasing a lot of things. But he had to get there before the village did, before other people did. So his father runs out there and greets him before everybody else. And his son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and am no more worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. So from a parent's perspective, an adult point of view, if you're a parent out there, you know that your children, as they grow and they become teenagers and young adults, just like some of us ourselves at those ages, have made bad decisions. And sometimes we return back home, or they return back home. And you come with open arms to them. You still love your kids regardless of their faults and their mistakes and things like that. And God feels the same way about us. And that's how this man in the parable feels about his son. He's made a dumb mistake. I still love you. I still miss you. He went out there and greeted him so his son couldn't be cast out. And he wants him to also know, his son to know, hey, you are loved and you are wanted. I'm so glad you're home. I'm sure his dad was like worried sick about him. So, and bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. So it does. It kind of sounds like his dad was worried. Probably thought he might have died or something. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like he didn't know what he was doing completely, I'm sure. So now, the other son, who's the older son, was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. So the other son, who decided to stay at home and is helping his father and all these other things, he's coming back in from work and he hears music. And he's probably wondering what in the world is going on. What happened? And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. So he calls one of the servants over and he's like, hey, what in the world's going on over there? And he said unto him, thy brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has received him safe and sound. And so he was angry. It would not go in, and therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answered, saying to his father, lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gave me a kid, a goat, a baby goat is what he's saying, that I might make merry with my friends. I had followed you and done everything you want to do, and my dummy brother who takes his inheritance and runs off, and now he's back home. You're going to have a big party for him, and I'm in here doing everything, and you don't throw parties for me. What's up with that? But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him a fatted calf. He was out with the harlots, and you're here killing the fatted calf for him. And he said unto him, son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is yours. You are always with me, and you know that everything that I have, everything that is left here is yours. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. So that was the end of chapter 15. We're going to keep going. Chapter 16. And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou may be no longer a steward. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig to beg. I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, that they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto thy Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill and sit down quickly and write 50. So he's only going to pay him half. Then said he to another, and how much do I owe you? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill and write 40. It's 40. No, wait. No, just kidding. Score is 20. 80. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know at the moment. Anyway, but it's not the whole value. And the Lord commanded the unjust steward, because he had done wisely, for the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. But he that is unjust in the least is also unjust in the most. If therefore you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will hold on to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and man. I'm going to pause right there for just a second. it kind of continued on into 16, and so I wanted to get through all of his red lettering real quick. Just a reminder for you guys, or if you're new here, just to let you know, the Gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They tell the exact same stories differently. And what I mean by that is that they're not completely different stories, but there are some stories have a little bit more emotion into them. Some of them have a lot more detail into them. And some of them, like in Luke, and we've talked about earlier, are not real life testimony. Luke did not see this happen. And I've talked about a little bit of the history of Luke. You can check that out in a previous life also. And I think that I put some on some shorts. But this was actually a letter to somebody to prove that Jesus was real and what happened to him and the things that he did was real. Luke went and talked to eyewitnesses, so many people, and he ended up following one of the disciples. So, but those are the Gospels. And the Acts are the Acts of the disciples. And there were people that, like in Luke, there were people that followed disciples and took in written accounts and things like that. So when people try to argue, and I've had people tell me this as well. They're like, well, the Bible is written by so many different people. Yeah, that's very true. But you also have to take into account who those people were, why they were writing, who they were writing to, and all these other things. To me, if Luke were here today, like if I would have documented this and like done all the research, just like an investigator or a journalist or someone like that who's trying to get to the bottom of a really important case, and you go and you talk to eyewitnesses and you go and talk to the people that followed him, the people that didn't follow him, that have seen him, and all these other things, and you're trying to get all the pieces put together. This is the truth. This is the truth that I have come to find. And then hundreds and thousands of years later, people are like, well, I can't believe that. That was so long ago. And who's to say? It's all just a bunch of baloney. He took his time and he was meticulous. And, like I said, this Luke, this was not written for, at this point in time, was not written for you. I'm sure that Luke did not know that was going to be put into a Bible. He was writing this letter to somebody to let them know and to show them proof, and this is everything that I have come to find. So yes, the Bible was written by many people, but for good reason. And like I said, Luke at the time, who wrote this letter to somebody, did not know that it was going to be put in the New Testament of the Bible that we read today. So we also have to take that into consideration also. He wasn't trying to blind anybody. He wasn't trying to twist anything. He wasn't trying to give false information. He was actually trying to get to the bottom of the truth and what was the truth, in fact, and what wasn't. Sorry, that was a whole rant there, but it's true. Some things we kind of have to look into and, take into account. And like I said before, all these people who are in the Bible, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the people that followed Jesus, the people that didn't like him, were all human. They were all regular people like you and me. And, we see the same thing, not to the exact extent now. We're not talking about the Messiah or anything, but, we can kind of relate to this even as far as like leaders go around the world, and in your country, my country, some people like them and some people don't, and some people really don't like them and some people really do. And so they had the same feelings, you know what I'm saying? They were all human. I gotta plug in here because my computer's getting a little low on the battery here. Bear with me. Ta-da! Okay. So, in this last parable, he's talking about you can't serve God and serve man. Man falls short. Fleshly. Materialistic. Judgy. All kinds of things. So, the Pharisees also, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. And he said unto them, you are they which justify yourselves before men. You justify the things that you do before men. They hold themselves higher up, just like the rooms that he was talking about. The Pharisees and all them, they've got the best seats in the temple and the synagogues, and people greet them on the streets, and they want to be known by these people because they think that they're important. They're leaders of something big right now. But God knows your hearts. He knows all of our hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presseth into it. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one little of the law to fail. Whosoever puts away his wife and marries another commits adultery. And whosoever marries her that is put away from her husband commits adultery. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine. Hold on. I'm going to stop right here. I have to tell you guys this because this is another one that has been taken into account the wrong way. So he says, if you put away your wife and she marries another, they commit adultery, and the same for you. Okay. This was a time that men were divorcing their women for the dumbest reasons, for really no reason. And that's just what they were doing. They weren't divorcing their wives because they were cheating or, because they were abusive or because of those things. Men were just finding reasons at the time to divorce their wives. You'll also listen to in the gospel how Jesus talks about this, about was it Moses who gave them what they wanted, kind of. But I wanted to pause there because it doesn't mean that if you get divorced today that you commit adultery after that divorce. And so I don't want this to be taken out of context. The reasoning is because people were divorcing for no reason at all. And so if you're doing that and because marriage is a commitment, it's something between you and your partner and God. And so it's important. It's holy. It should be taken seriously, not just to be thrown away on a whim. So sorry. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. He had money, didn't worry about none every day. He's living his best life. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. There's a beggar, probably a homeless person, gross, is laying on his gate. And desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table, moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Gross. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham far off, and Lazarus on his bosom. And he cried, and he said, Father, Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. Please send Lazarus to cool my tongue. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. You knew, and you did nothing. And beside all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray thee, therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Please send him out to go tell my 5 brothers to not be how I was, so that they don't have to come here. Please warn them. And Abraham said unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. They already have this information. They've got Moses and the prophets. They need to listen to them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. They're not going to believe Moses and the prophets. They don't now. If you send someone from the dead, they'll believe. And he said unto them, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded through one rose from the dead. It doesn't matter. Listen, if they're not going to listen to Moses and the prophets, they're not going to listen to someone who's been resurrected from the dead. A little foreshadowing there, maybe. A little talk about Jesus there and what's about to happen. People are not going to believe what he did. They're not going to believe his story. They're not going to believe that he died and was resurrected. They're not. And we had John the Baptist, and we had the disciples. We have. And people still don't believe. That was also the end of chapter 16. I'm tempted to go on to 17. So Jesus obviously speaks in parables, and he says, those that have ears, let them hear. He says things in a way for people to understand by giving them examples, like metaphorical stories. But no, I think we're going to stop at 16. We'll get into the rest next time. So that was Luke 14 through 16 today. I would like to just express again how much the things that you see and hear on your news, from your friends, from your family, on YouTube, on people's channels and things like that, how important it is to just not absorb all of that and take it for truth and fact. I say that mainly because of my own personal experiences, some experiences from other people, but just things that I've had to witness, things that I've experienced. You really have to test everything and test everybody with this book. And that's just the long and the short of it. I don't know how to tell you that in any other way. From their actions to their words. If they say that they're from God, they're of God, they're a prophet, they're a word for God, all these other things, check it. Check it. Check it. Just check it. It's that easy. It's just that easy. Listen, the New Testament is not big. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you. I'm already in Matthew. Okay. All right. Look at this. Look at this. All right. Here's my Bible, and I've got the New Testament. I've got the New Testament and the Old Testament split. Okay. All right. This thick part right here. All this. That's old. That's Old Testament. That's Old Testament. Okay. All this before Jesus. All right. Here's the split. Here comes Jesus. Hello, Jesus and John the Baptist. All right. This little bit right here, that's the New Testament. That's it. Okay. Compared to the entire book. Okay. That's it. All right. Now hold on pause with me one moment. John is long. Okay. John was emotional. He was very emotional. Sorry, I'm almost done here. Oh, my pages are sticking together. There's Acts. Okay. All right. So here we have the New Testament. Okay. See this little short part here? This little tiny part? Now, out of that, this right here, that is the Gospels. That's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's almost half. And listen, I don't have the back of my Bible separated out. You got to understand there's like the glossary and all that mess back there. Let me separate that real quick. I just want to put this in perspective because people are like, I can't read the Bible. That is too much. And I'm like, yeah, bruh, it is. But here's the fun part. The New Testament is what you need to worry about. All right. That's not worry about, but that's where you need to be at. We're not following Levitical laws anymore. Okay. Jesus changed that. And he sent John the Baptist before him. Okay. So let me fold my Bible up real quick. All right. Okay. So let's see here. Uh-oh. I lost it. I was trying to be boom, boom, boom. Okay. So this right here, out of all that, is the New Testament. Okay, just this. That part down at the bottom over here, that's my glossary and all that. You can see that. Okay, that's all right. Just this little piece right here is the New Testament. Okay, so out of that little piece where it's split almost maybe in half there, so that's the gospel. It's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay. The next book is Acts. That's the Acts of the Disciples. And it goes into other things. However, that's it. So much twisted, so much discrepancy, so much absolute chaos from people who say so many things about the Bible and Jesus. And it's like, if you had read it, you wouldn't say that though. Like you haven't read. You haven't read. And so and you know, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but until you've read it, it's hard to speak on it. And I don't mean like read it years ago. I don't mean read it as a child. I mean reading it. I don't know about you, but I have to read a book a couple times, just like I watch a movie more than once, and you see and hear other things, background things, all kinds of stuff. You don't catch everything the first time. Let's be real. Be real with yourself. Okay? That's not a lot. That's really not a lot. Just that little bit, that's not a lot, dude. I can read in my head faster than I read out loud. I could get this done in, if I had free time, I could get this done in a couple days. I'm gonna miss a lot of stuff, but I can get it done. I can read through it. I'm not gonna remember everything either. It's another reason. So anyway, I just test everything with the Bible. And we're not talking about a thick part of it either, okay? But test everything with the Word. Test people. I can't tell you how many people I used to follow, and then they started talking about how they were a prophet and they were getting word from God, and God is telling them this, and Jesus is telling them that, and all these other things. And then the more they talk, the more you see how they're not telling the truth. And that goes for everything. Okay? So make sure that what you and other people are saying and basing their opinions and their facts on can be tested with the Word and proven as fact. Because you can. It is that easy, and you really can, I promise. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to put that in perspective for you, to show you that you don't have to read the whole Bible. This Old Testament. It's Old Testament. I'm not saying that it's not important. Okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't read it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get some historical context, and there's good lessons. There's some other important things like the Ten Commandments and things like that. And also remember that whenever you read the New Testament, just like whenever you read the Old Testament, that you have to take history and historical context into consideration. The times then were not the same as the times now. Customs were not the same either. So, but that's it. Easy. I am reading it to you also. So that ought to help out a little bit, little increments at a time. And like I said, I can read a lot faster than I talk, and I try to pause and explain things and kind of illustrate things out to put them into a better perspective, or at least explain things so that you understand why people did what they did or said what they said at that point in time. As always, everybody, all of you are welcome here. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're a believer or not. It doesn't matter if you don't like religion. Hey, if you want to troll my page, I am all for it. Please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you like it. Check out my shorts. I try to give information in those things. And I always leave a link at the bottom of the short so that you can watch the full video or live. But I also, like I've said before, I have my email on my channel. Please feel free to send me questions or comments, and I will try to help explain or answer. And hey, I'll be the first one to tell you that I can't if I can. And I'll do my best to help you, or even reach out to other people that I know, or people in here that I know that are more knowledgeable than I am, that have more schooling in this, who not that I'm a scholar or anything, but who have been to school for this. So anyway, I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. I hope all of you have a fantastic day, and I hope that you become a little more self-aware today. I hope that you learn how to forgive others and forgive yourself. I hope that you build a strong relationship with God and with Jesus, and that you maybe take a little bit of what I say into consideration and maybe try it. Maybe try it. Maybe read a little bit. Maybe find the truth for yourself instead of believing other people. Because I'm telling you, if I believed other people, the people that I've even been to churches with and to, and the people that have preached at those places, I'm telling you, I'd be so lost right now and on the wrong path. Okay? I'm not saying that about every church by any means. I'm just giving you those experiences, or my experiences and the stories. So, I figure the best way to say things and to help give other people understanding like I really needed It's better to just read it and find the truth for ourselves. So anyway, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to quit my little rant. Again, I hope y'all have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully I'll see you around the end of the week. Until next time.